just put this on record. Okay, so let me just repeat my introduction. Welcome again to our second synchronous session on principles of teaching. And today we will be summing up all the things that you have learned in your modules, the information that you gather, particularly on the principles of the elements of teaching and learning. Now, if you can see in your module, no, there are 3 elements of teaching and learning, and I would like to share a PowerPoint of my presentation on the elements of teaching and learning. Okay, so if you can see in the diagram, no, you can see 3 circles there. The 3 circles funnels into the elements of teaching and learning. Excuse me. And there are particularly 3 elements there: the teacher, the learner, and the learning environment. Now, my question is, okay, when these 3 elements here, okay, lacks one, okay, pag tinanggal mo yung isa, can we complete the elements of teaching and learning? Can we complete the educational process? Can we complete the teaching and learning process? The quick answer to that is no, okay, because these are the elements. Okay, and if you eliminate one element, it won't be complete anymore. Okay, it works like the periodic table of elements, right? If you have the periodic table of elements and if you delete or eliminate hydrogen or helium there, then everything will be in chaos. Okay, if one day one scientist would say, oh, hydrogen is not an element anymore, or helium will not be is not an element anymore, well, that will change the way we understand chemistry. That will change the way we understand the periodic table of elements in essence. And in a larger perspective, that will change the way we understand the universe. In other words, people, if you eliminate the teacher in the educational process, or if you eliminate the learning environment in the educational process, it creates a paradigm shift of how we actually do education, of how we actually do the process of educating our young learners, because we are eliminating one of this. And if we eliminate, the process of doing education will also change, and therefore will create a paradigm shift on what we call as education. Okay, and we will soon realize that we are actually doing that in a way, but we are not eliminating one element, but we are making a shift. We are doing a paradigm shift, but we are not.
Mahulog dito, oh.
Yeah, excuse me. Who's talking? Can you please mute your your microphone meantime? Yes. All right. Anyway, we are doing the paradigm shift. We are in a paradigm shift, but we are not eliminating one of these. But we are just modifying what seemed to be normal, okay, for that certain element of teaching and learning. I'll just figure out who that person is, whose mic is still on. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, all right. So yeah, so the teacher, okay, that is one element of the teaching and learning. Now, is there a possibility, okay, in 10 years or 20 years from now?
Naka-open yung mic ko.
Sino yung naka-open yung mic? Can you please mute? I think it's Giselle. All right. Anyway, okay. The teacher, okay. The teacher, okay, is one important element of teaching and learning. Though important, no. My question is there: is there a possibility that we can have a teacher-less school in the near future? Is there a possibility 10, 3, 10, 20, 50, 100 years from now that whenever we go to school, we cannot find any more teachers? It's a teacher-less school, okay? That's a hypothetical question, but is there any possibility that we can have that in the near future? Anyone who wants to answer my question?
Sir?
Yes, Gizanda.
Hello?
Yes.
Siguro, sir, saying that meron na po tayong like artificial intelligence, pero
Okay.
I still believe in the power of a teacher who can teach physics. physically.
Study.
So, yung mga artificial intelligence naman, sir, they will not definitely 100% work
Okay.
without a human brain pa din. So, most likely, no, sir.
All
There
right.
will still
Thank
be teachers in
school.
school.
Yes, thank you, Kizanda, for that very good
Opo.
answer. Yeah, you mentioned about artificial intelligence,
Thank you po.
computer technologies, internet technologies, and the like. Yeah, thank you for that. What about the others? Anyone? One more. What about Roxanne? Roxanne, can you share something about what you're thinking now?
Morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
For me, sir, regardless if meron pong mag-exist ng bagong mga katulad nun, sir, yung mga artificial intelligence natin,
Mm-mm.
meron pa rin pong teachers kasi regardless of the mode of delivery nung teaching,
Mm-mm.
still a teacher pa rin siya regardless kung formal siya na deliver or informal. Kasi ang purpose ng teaching, sir, is to share or impart knowledge.
Okay.
So, regardless kung ano man yung way or mode of delivery nun, still a teacher pa rin po siya. Kasi yung purpose nila is iisa lang, sir.
All right. So, in other words, even if a computer talks to you, even if it's an artificial intelligence that is talking to you, you can still consider that as a teacher. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much,
Yes, sir.
Roxanne, for that creative answer too. No. All right. So, but when we say teacher here, by saying teacher, we refer to the physical human being. Okay, the physical human being. Well, that is true. That the computer, the internet, or artificial intelligence can serve the purpose of a teacher, but it cannot definitely be substituted to a teacher. Okay, Gizanda was right that artificial intelligence is there, computer technologies are already there, internet technologies are already there. In other words, no, students can access a lot of information already in the internet, in using the computer, using artificial intelligence. But the question is, who will regulate the access of information of our students? Diba? The computer can give a lot of information, but who will choose what information has to be accessed by the learners? Who will choose what information has to be learned by our learners? And is that not the job of a teacher? Is that not the the role of a teacher to design, okay, the lesson for today, to identify and to select which lessons are for today that will be tackled by the learners. So what that is my point, no? Yuzanda was correct. Okay, Gizanda was correct that, you know, there are artificial intelligences available today, but even though that these technologies are available, it doesn't mean that it can change the role of the teacher. So I can tell, I can see, or I can say that in the near future, 100 years from now, or even 1,000 years from now, it cannot be possible that there are schools that will be teacherless. Okay? You see, no? 1,000 years ago, no? 100 years ago, nung nagsimula ang eskwelahan, may mga teachers na. At hanggang ngayon, hindi mo pa rin maikakaila that the teachers are very important, that they play a very important role in the classroom, and you cannot actually eliminate them. Okay, that's how important the teacher is as an element of teaching and learning because they have many roles. Dun sa modules nga na binigay ko sa inyo, no? Ang daming role na binigay ni teacher doon, like a manager, an instructor, a guidance counselor, a motivator, a leader, a PRO, or a guest press relation officer. So there are lots of roles which the computer cannot do, which the artificial intelligence cannot do. So teaching is more than teaching. And there are many things that a teacher must do and are expected to do, but you cannot find a substitute for that. Okay? A substitute that can do all things that a teacher is expected to function in a classroom. Okay? So the bottom line there is the possibility of having a teacherless classroom. No, it's not possible. Okay, but is there a way that we can have a substitute? Okay, for some functions of a teacher, yes, perhaps. Okay, but to totally change it, no, that's not possible. Okay, so let's now proceed to the second one, which is the learner. The learner is actually the most important element of the teaching and learning. Well, as far as 21st century education is concerned, as far as progressivism, constructivism is concerned, no, the most important um, piece or element of the teaching and learning is the learner. If you have a circle here, okay, if you have a circle here, you put the learner in the center, and everything that happens in the classroom, everything that is planned by the teacher, everything on how you manage the learning environment should radiate from the learner, should radiate from the nature of the learner. So what does the learner need? What type of learners do you have? So when you are able to figure out the characteristics of your learners, the nature of your learners, then you will be able to design a teaching and learning process that is suitable for them. Okay. Would you mind to that when you enter the class, please make sure that your microphones are muted so that we will not be disrupted. All right. Now, so that's the learner, okay? The learner is in the center of the educative process, okay? They are the center. And then as far as 21st century education is concerned, because if we talk about traditional education, if we talk about education in the 1950s, 1940s, no, we will be seeing some transition from a teacher-centered environment to a learner-centered environment. And that's very relevant today, no? Last year, no, kung natatandaan nyo pa, no, last year, there was a teacher in the public school that was a tulfo, how do you call this? Tulfofied, okay? Anong ibig sabihin ko ng tulfofied? Yung nireklamo sa tulfo kasi nga, meron siyang pinalabas na bata. Okay, may pinalabas siyang bata sa classroom, pinalabas niya yung upuan at doon niya pinaupo sa labas habang nakikinig doon kay teacher. Eh nakita sa CCTV, nagreklamo yung bata, nakita ng magulang. Anong ginawa ng magulang? Nagreklamo sa tulfo. Anong ginawa ni tulfo? Sabi ni tulfo, "Ma'am, hindi makatarungan yung ginawa mo. Eh, hindi dapat yan. Mag-resign ka na." O anong ginawa ng kawawang teacher? Ayun, nag-resign nga. Eh, hindi pa nga takdang oras para siya ay mag-resign. O ano nangyari sa retirement benefits niya? Ano nangyari sa lahat ng benepisyong dapat matatanggap niya in return of her many years of service? So now what happened there? You can see how powerful the learners are today. How powerful the parents are today, even the parents. Okay? So yun yung disadvantage na dinalagay din natin o binibigyan natin ng too much attention or too much special treatment yung mga bata. Okay? However, no, as far as this issue is concerned, yun nga, dapat iwasan na natin yung mga disciplinary actions that would offend not only the learners but would offend especially the parents. Okay? But, yun, makikita mo nga yung difference ng upbringing ng mga millennials, ng mga bata ngayon. I am a millennial, no? Pag sinabing millennial, hindi ito yung mga bata ngayon, okay? Pag sinabing millennial are the people or individuals who were born in the 90s. So kung 90s baby ka, yun ikaw ay matatawag na millennial kasi at the turn of the millennium, 2000, okay? Yung mga bata na nabuhay 2000 above, sila yung Gen Z na sinasawag natin. Okay, Generation Z. Okay, so yung mga millennials yan, nakaranas yan ng bugbog, hindi lang bugbog, palo, pingot, okay? Yung sabunot sa teacher, kurot sa teacher, and look at how we are using what we have learned in terms of discipline to the real world. Okay, compared now to the Generation Z learners. Okay, so we can see a lot of differences. There are many researches that would tell us that Gen Z or millennials are different, okay? Are different in terms of many aspects like attitude, behavior, and the way they deal with other people in their workplace. Okay, so that is the learner. And we'll talk about the differences of the learners later on as we proceed in this discussion. Now, the next one is the learning environment. Okay, the learning environment is also one important aspect of the teaching and learning process. Without the learning environment, there is no communication line between the teacher and the learner. it is where you can find the teacher and the learner. But when we refer to the learning environment, it may not be physical learning environment. It may not refer to classrooms, okay? It may not refer to buildings. It may not refer to chairs or anything really that you can find inside the classroom, although that's what is normal. But today, you can see that our learning environment does not refer any longer, okay, to physical classrooms. What is our learning environment today? You see, we are using Zoom, we are using our laptops, we are using our cameras, our cell phones, and these are the materials or infrastructures that you can see in our learning environment. And we call this virtual learning environment. So even though we are not physically in contact with each other, even though we are not face to face, okay, talking face to face, or I am delivering to you the information face to face, we are using a virtual classroom. And can we refer to this as a learning environment? Yes. Okay? Ito yung tinatawag natin na nagkaroon tayo ng paradigm shift. Okay? COVID-19 has caused us to immediately, okay, shift from one form of education to another because we cannot do face-to-face instruction. Okay? So, from face-to-face instruction to distance learning real quick. Okay? O, katulad nyo, the question is, are you prepared for distance learning? O, nung nag-enroll kayo sa FL Vargas, did you expect that it's gonna be distance learning? Some of you would say, sir, no, I did not expect this. That's why nagkukumahog ako ngayon na maghanap ng signal kasi hindi ko alam kung mayroong signal o kung saang lugar may signal. Sa lugar namin, mababa o mahina ang signal. Kaya ngayon, hindi ko alam kung saan ako maghahanap, magpupwesto kasi kailangan ko maghanap ng signal. Okay? So, in that way, you can see that there has been a shift from the learning environment, from the physical learning environment to a virtual learning environment. So, even though that's virtual, that is still a learning environment. Okay? And in the past, you can control everything, right? If you are in the classroom, everything can be controlled. Pag may maingay na bata, titignan mo lang, tititigan mo lang yung bata, tapos na ang problema mo. Okay? Pero ngayon, sa mga ganitong pagkakataon, hindi mo naman nakikita yung mga estudyante mo. Hindi mo nga alam kung anong ginagawa ng mga estudyante mo sa likod ng camera because their cameras are off. And you cannot, okay? When you become teacher, and this is still the method that we'll be using, you cannot oblige them to open their cameras, no? That's their right, okay? That's their right. If you can ask, okay? You can ask, ma'am, ading, o ganito, ganyan, pwede bang pa-open ng camera nyo? Pero if they opt not to open their cameras, that's their right, okay? Why? Because meron pa rin tayong privacy na tinatawag. So the places that they are in, yung lugar kung nasaan sila habang sila ay nakikinig, that's their private place. And once na pinilit mo na buksan nila yung camera nila, that's a invasion of their privacy. That's an invasion of their territory. Okay? So yun yung i-observe natin. Okay? Observe natin. So kayo, pag may nakikita kayong gumagalaw sa likod ko, well, because I'm not just in a room that is specifically belong to me. Okay? I have my wife here, so andyan din siya, gumagalaw din siya. Di ko naman siya pwedeng pigilan na gumalaw. So, excuse me for that. Okay? I cannot off my camera kasi nga, ako yung teacher nyo. You need me. Okay? You need to see me. That's what I'm trying to point out. You need to see me. And I want that you have to see me because yun nga, pag-uusapan natin mamaya, bakit kailangan nakikita nyo ako at bakit kailangan naririnig nyo rin ako at meron itong visual organizer na ginagamit natin. Okay? So that's the learning environment. And all these three elements here play a very crucial role. They play a very integrative role. Okay? Integrative role. Pag sinabing integrative, when we say integrative, it means that the teacher designs the learning environment, and then the learner uses the learning environment. So they play roles together. Okay, yun yung sinasabi nating integrative roles, right? And you cannot separate them from each other. Okay, so let's begin our discussion on the learner. Okay, what are the qualities of a learner? Okay, as a future teacher, if there's one thing that you have to know, okay, first and foremost, is your learner? How, who are they? What are their qualities? What is common to them? And what makes them different from each other? Okay? So the learner is an embodied spirit. Okay? You have seen this um, in your, how do you call this? In your module, no? The learner is an embodied spirit. In other words, no, pag sinabing embodied spirit, the learner has a body, okay? And the learner has the soul, okay? So when you say body, the learner can experience pain. The learner can experience sensation. The learner can be stimulated. In other words, the learner can feel things, okay? The learner can see, the learner can hear, the learner can observe. So that is what we mean by the learner has a body, okay? But what about the learner has a soul? When you say the learner has a soul, the learner has principles and spiritual acts, okay? The learner has intellectual abstraction. Ibig sabihin, pag may nakita siya, iniisip niya kung ano yung nakikita niya. Meron siyang choice na ginagawa. Okay? So pag tinanong mo siya, papipiliin mo siya versus A and B, meron siyang kakayahan para mag-isip critically kung ano bang pipiliin niya. Is it A or is it B? So lahat ng learners natin ay embodied spirit. Okay? Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na, paano yung mga learners na slow learners, di ba? Yung mga coping learners, do they still have the body? Do they still have the soul? Of course, yes. Okay? Pag sinabi mo naman, oy, ang tanga-tanga mo, ang bobo-bobo mo, hindi ba masasaktan yung bata? Ibig sabihin nun, kahit na ganun yung bata, meron pa rin siyang soul, meron pa rin siyang kakayahan para maka-feel ng pain at mag-isip critically kung tama ba yung kanyang ginagawa. Okay? So, in other words, people, specifically, no, ang ating mga mag-aaral ay merong dalawang faculties. Meron tayong tinatawag na cognitive faculties and appetitive faculties. Okay? Now, what are these cognitive faculties? There are 5 of them. Okay? There are 5 cognitive faculties and we have 2 appetitive faculties. Now, let's discuss this one by one. No? When we talk about cognitive faculties, everything that happens here. Okay? You know, in learning, meron tayong tinatawag na 3 domains of learning. You take this down, no? Because this is very important, no? Lalabas ito sa inyong exam, and I think there are items in your quiz about this, no? The 3 domains of learning are cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. Okay? Yung cognitive faculties natin, nakafocus lang yan dun sa tinatawag nating cognitive domain of learning. Now, what are these domains anyway? Okay, what are these domains? Well, these domains of learning would tell us what can be learned by our learners. Okay, what can be learned by our learners? So when we say cognitive, these are things that are happening in the mind. Okay, knowledge. Okay, these are things that are happening in the mind that is processed by the mind. Yung psychomotor naman, psychomotor means that you are using your body already. So psychomotor domain, there's an involvement of the body. Okay, in other words, ito yung skill mo. Okay, and then the affective, well, this is how you feel. Okay, your values. Okay, so kung titingnan natin, your knowledge is your cognitive domain, your skill is the psychomotor domain, and your affective domain is your values. Okay, how you put importance towards a certain lesson. So for example, you are teaching music, arts, PE, and health, and particularly PE or dance, and you're teaching them Lahota to Gigaraw. Now, the moment that the learner is able to know the history of the dance and is able to memorize the different steps in the dance, that is cognitive domain. Okay? The moment that the learner was able to demonstrate the steps of the dance proficiently, gracefully, at alam niya kung paano isayaw yung Lahota to Gigaraw, he was able to develop the skill of dancing Lahota to Gigaraw, that's psychomotor domain. How does affective domain now enter in the scenario? No, with regards that, no, in contrast with the other 2 domains, affective domain does not happen overnight. Many teachers would put in their objectives like to appreciate the dance by blah, blah, blah. But you know, something like that is not really effective. How can we say that in just one period, in just 1 hour, you will be able to develop the affective domain of the student? That does not happen overnight. So when the student was able to okay, oh, this is Lahota Tugigaraw. And this must be advocated. This must be spread to the community because it's no longer danced by the community. So ang ginawa niya, pag Sabado-Linggo, nagtuturo siya sa mga kabataan, sa mga bata ng Lahota Tugigaraw. Tinuturo niya. So nagkaroon siya, nagka-develop siya ng value towards the dance. So it's not just merely, oh, this is a good dance. Oh, I feel good about this dance. Pero he was able to develop value towards the dance. He thinks that the essence of the dance is very important. That it's not more than the dance. It talks of the culture, the identity of every Tugigaraweños, and if that dance will, eventually die, then the culture of the Tugigaraweños will also die. So ang ginawa niya, pumunta siya sa mga bata, itinuro niya yung sayaw, and is that a development of the affective domain? Definitely yes. Okay, because he was able to characterize the values of the dance. And there are certain levels in the affective domain, and we will get to discuss that in the next sessions. Okay? So yun yung tinatawag nating domains of learning: cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. Okay? So ang tinuturo sa atin, no, in a period, in our lesson plan, we must be able to develop these 3 domains of learning. Okay? But I just am warning you, no, that the affective domain, even though we put it in our lesson plan, we cannot say that we can measure it in just overnight, in one period, because it does not happen overnight. Unless, the learner has developed already altruistic behavior, apathetic behavior, and the like, okay? And that can be possible, okay? So let's go back to the cognitive faculties. The learner has 5 cognitive faculties. The first one is 5 senses, okay? Ang mga bata, meron silang 5 senses. Kapag sinabi nating senses, no, ginagamit ito ng ating mga learners to observe, okay? And sabi dito, no, there is nothing in the mind which was not first in some manner in the senses. And that is very true, no? That is very true. Hindi pwede na merong impormasyon na makarating sa utak mo na hindi dumadaan sa iyong senses. Oh, how can you say that a dog is a dog if you have not seen a dog? Right? How can you say that the bark of the dog is the bark of the dog if you have not heard the bark of the dog? Oh, itagalogin ko na lang, no? Paano mo masasabi na ang aso ay aso kung hindi ka nga nakakita ng aso? So, how can the image of an aso register in your brain kung hindi ka naman nakakita ng aso? In other words, my point here is nothing is registered in your brain unless it passes through the senses. Okay, so you have to see it first, you have to hear it first, you have to taste, smell, and touch it first so that that information will be registered in your brain. All right, so what is the implication of this to our teaching methodologies? What is the implication that we know that there are 5 senses to our teaching methodologies? Okay, literature would suggest that the more senses involved, the better learning that happens. Okay, in other words, mas marami raw o mas madali daw ang pagkatuto ng bata kung mas maraming mga senses ang nagagamit ng bata. Well, how is that possible? Well, what is the philosophy behind that? Okay, let me give you an example. There are 2 cases, no? You are a fan of Provinciano, or you are a fan of ang Provinciano at teleserye in ABS. Now, if you compare getting information from Provinciano by just listening to the radio, okay, and by watching it in the television, okay, which one will be easier for you? Saan mo mas maiintindihan yung kwento? Pag ikaw ay nakikinig ng radyo o pag napapanood mo sa television? Anyone who can answer my question?
Hello, sir.
Yes, Wendy.
Pag nakikita mo yung mismong nangyayari sa TV, sir.
Bakit?
Kasi nga, aside from the sound, sir, na naririnig mo, yung mga actions din ng characters, locations din.
Alright,
So, mas
thank you.
naiintindihan mo kung anong yan.
Okay, Wendy, how many senses was involved when you were watching?
Two, sir.
What about when you were hearing it from the radio?
One lang, sir.
1. Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you very much, Wendy, for that answer. So that is what I'm trying to point out there. Okay, the more senses involved, the better learning that happens. So kung mas maraming senses ang nakabukas, there are more entries of information. So pag pinanonood mo yung probinsyano, aside from nakikita mo na, naririnig mo pa. Pero pag pinakikinggan mo lang, iisipin mo pa kung ano ba nangyari? Tinadyakan na ba ni Cardo si yung kalaban niya? Namatay na ba si Cardo? Mga ganung bagay. So you still need to imagine and to develop mental images of what is happening from what you are hearing. Okay? In an actual scenario in the classroom, no? Halimbawa, nagtuturo ka ng science at ang topic mo ay a part of a flower. Okay? Instead of, showing them a picture of a flower, why don't you let them go out, right? Let them go to the garden in the school. Let them pick flowers which are allowable, yung mga pwedeng i-pick na flowers. Papuntahin mo sila sa garden. Anong magagawa nila sa garden? Makikita nila yung actual flower? Makikita nila yung actual parts ng flower? Ano pa? They can touch the flower? They can smell the flower? Oh. So, mas maraming senses ang nagagamit. Okay, so the environment is used for the teaching methodology. At instead of showing them a picture of a flower, ang ginawa mo, pinapunta mo sila sa labas at nagamit nila yung more than one sense nila, and in that way, the information will register in their brain more effectively and faster. Kaya pag kayo ay naging guro na, pag nag-design kayo ng activities nyo, make sure ilang senses ang magagamit ng bata dito. Okay? Kasi kung kokonti lang, especially sa elementary at high school, no? Kung konti lang, mahihirapan yung mga yan. Halimbawa, pababasahin mo lang sila. What if pwede mong ipabasa tapos ipa-roleplay mo sa kanila para na-embody nila kung ano yung nasa binabasa nila. Diba? Para mas matandaan nila. Ay, ganito yung ginawa ng classmate ko noon. Ang pangalan niya ganito. Ang ginawa nito, ganyan. Ganito ang ginawa niya. Instead na pinabasa mo lang at nagtanong ka na agad. Okay? So, mga ganung strategies. Okay? That is the implication of these to us as future teachers. Okay? The next one is instinct. Ang instinct, it came from the Latin word instinctus, which means impulse. So the child has the ability to react to a certain stimuli. Okay? Ang tawag natin in behavioral psychology, no, ang tawag diyan ay stimulus response theory. Okay? Merong stimulus at merong response. So the learner, given a certain stimulus, can respond from that stimulus. Okay? So by saying stimulus response, halimbawa, no, kung ikaw ay nagtuturo at tinanong mo yung bata, 8 plus 8. So, what is the stimulus there? The stimulus is 8 plus 8. Ano ang respond ng bata? 16. So, that is the stimulus response. The stimulus is your question and the response is the answer of the child to your question. Okay? So, the child, pag prinump mo siya ng isang tanong, meron siyang kakayahan para i-respond, mag-respond doon sa tinanong mo sa kanya. How much more pag tinusok mo siya. May kakayahan siya to protect himself. Okay? So the child has the natural capacity or the tendency to respond to an environmental stimuli. And everybody has that. Okay? Slow, coping learners or advanced learners, they all have instinct. Okay, they all have the natural capacity to respond to the environmental stimuli. Kaya kung ikaw ay nagtanong sa bata, okay, alam mo naman na yung bata ay coping learner, bigyan mo naman siya ng response time. Okay? Minsan kasi ang mga teachers ganito pag nagtanong, what is the meaning of science? Gusto ng teacher agad-agad may sagot na. Okay? Wala kang sagot, sit down. So eventually, yung bata natakot. Okay? Kasi ang iniisip niya dapat agad-agad yung kanyang sagot. Di ba? Isn't it that kayo din nung ako naman din nung elementary based on experience, no? Pag nagtanong yung teacher, ang konsepto ko, dapat agad-agad may sagot na ako. Because that was imprinted on me because that was the strategies, those were the strategies of my teachers before. But, let's realize that it's not like that. Because our learners are different. In other words, when you present a stimuli to them, give them time to respond. Okay? Maybe they are thinking. Okay? Maybe they are thinking. And thinking, by the way, is what we call a covert behavior. Okay? Meron kasing dalawang klase ng behavior. Overt or covert. Okay? They are responding. But the response there, you cannot see. Okay? You cannot see how they respond. So for example, tinanong mo yung bata, what is science? Okay? Yung bata, nag-iisip. Is that a response? Yes. Thinking is still a response from your stimuli. Nga lang, hindi mo nakikita yung bata na nag-iisip. So, give the child time to manifest his covert behavior to an overt behavior. Okay? Let me remind you once again, no? Pag covert, C-O-V-E-R-T, hindi ito nakikita. Pero pag overt, ito yung behavior na nakikita ni teacher. Halimbawa, nagsasalita na yung bata. Sinasagot niya na verbally kung ano ang science. Can you consider that as an overt behavior? The answer is yes, because you can now observe the child talking. You can now hear the child talking. Okay, that's an overt behavior. Pero pag iniisip niya pa lang yung kanyang isasagot, that's a covert behavior. So every child can respond to a stimuli. And if you want to bring out the best from a child, give them response time. Give them the opportunity, give them the chance to express themselves, and do not shut down their creative ideas, because it is still an idea. It is still a product of a thinking process. Okay, a product of a thinking process. So that's instinct. Okay, and that is how this one, okay, is implied in our learning environment. The third one is imagination. Well, this relates to our lesson on five senses. Okay? Pag sinabing imagination, no, kahit hindi nakikita ng bata kung ano yung sinasabi mo, he was able to form a mental image of it in his mind or in his brain. Okay? Halimbawa, when I say earth, pag sinabi kong earth, is there a mental image that is formed in your mind? Let me ask Ruth Abigail.
Sir, can you repeat the question po? Sorry.
Yeah, when I say earth, is there a mental image now in your mind?
Yes, sir.
And how does it look
Yung
like?
typical na circle or
Okay.
shape po.
Okay. What is
And
the
then
color?
normally yung nakikita po natin is the blue color, which is the
Okay.
water. And
Alright.
then for the land po, yung normally brown colors.
All right. What about if I say Proxima Centauri? Ruth Abigail.
No idea po, sir.
No
I'm
idea.
sorry.
In other words,
Mm.
may nagkaroon bang mental image sa utak mo? Wala.
Parang wala po. Like, ang nasa isip ko lang science, connected ba siya sa
Okay.
science?
Pero wala kang nakitang mental image. Tama ba ako?
Wala po, sir.
Oh, very good, Ruth. Okay. That is how, okay, the importance of, by the way, Ruth, no, Proxima Centauri is a star, okay? It's the nearest star from our solar system aside from our own sun, okay? So, now that you have known that it is a star, siguro naman may mental image na na-form doon sa utak mo, diba? Now, the point here, guys, is that our learners has the ability to imagine, although, okay, their imagination is restricted if they do not know something about what they are reading. Okay, halimbawa, nagbabasa yung bata. May na-encounter siyang isang salita na hindi niya alam kung ano ang ibig sabihin. That will hamper now the imagination skill of the child. Okay? In other words, the implication of what we are telling right now in our class is, whenever you present an idea to your learners, make sure that in some way, you are able to form a mental image in their mind. Say, lalo na sa mga young learners natin, no? Lalo na sa mga elementary at high school learners natin. Pag sinabi mo sa grade 1 solar system, hindi niya pa alam kung anong solar system yan. Pero pag nagpakita ka sa kanya ng picture pag nakapakita ka sa kanya ng video, and then inalis mo na yung picture na yan, the next time around na sasabihin mo sa kanya solar system, makikita niya na sa kanyang utak kung ano nga ba ang solar system. We call that process as abstraction. Okay, we call that abstraction. So from a concrete material na pinakita mo sa bata, that will register to their mind, at pag hindi na nila nakita yan, andun pa rin sa utak nila kung ano yung mental image na yan. Okay? Kung ano yung dapat nilang ma-imagine. Okay? So pag sinabi mo, imagine you are in the solar system. Di ba? Nakikita mo yung katawan mo, nakalutang na sa solar system. Sa utak mo lang, not in reality. Okay? So even though hindi mo na nakikita yung solar system, nai-imagine mo na. Pero yung imagination mo, that can only be possible once you are able to present, okay, a concrete material to your learners about what you're trying to impart on them, what you're trying to inform them. Okay? So imagination is a very important skill of our learners. It should be emphasized. Okay? Marami ang hindi nakakaintindi, yung reading comprehension nila mababa because of their lack of imagination. And why do they lack imagination? Well, because they cannot form mental image of what they are seeing. Okay? Of what they are reading. Alright? Halimbawa, no? Merong teksto dyan. May binabasa siya. Okay? Hindi niya ma-imagine. Kasi importante, pag nagbabasa ka, halimbawa, no? You see, I have, my wife here has a lot of novels, no? I never ever have finished one novel in my entire life. Okay? Hindi ako fan ng novels. You know why? There are no pictures in the novels. Okay? Can you see pictures here? Wala. Ang binabasa, ang tinitignan ko lang yung mga book pages, and I am fascinated with the front covers, kung paano ginawa yung front covers. Pero if you let me finish one novel, I cannot do it. Why? Because there are no pictures that I can see. Okay? Although, can I still imagine what is happening in the novel? Of course, yes, because I know what it means by the words there. So even though I cannot see pictures, I can imagine what's happening there. But in grade 1, okay, books, okay, alam nyo naman yan. Kung babalikan nyo, no, yung mga grade 1 books nyo, napakaraming pictures. Yung elementary books nyo, napakaraming pictures. Pagdating ng high school, may mga pictures pa rin. Pero pagdating ng college, wala ka na makikitang pictures dyan. Bakit? Kasi expected na pag ikaw ay nasa kolehiyo, alam mo na kung anong sinasabi ng mga salita na nandoon sa libro. Okay? That is how imagination is very important. So the implication, therefore, is when you design a teaching methodology, when you design an activity in your class, especially for young learners, for elementary learners, make sure that in some way you can present them concrete examples of the information that you want them to acquire. Okay, that is essential for their learning. Okay, because when that happens, kahit na wala na yung mga concrete information na yan, well, alam na nila kung ano yung ibig mong sabihin. Okay, so imagination is very important. Okay, and of course, pagka nag-imagine ka, no, sabi ko nga, dapat natatandaan din nila kung ano yung pinakita mo sa kanila. At ang tawag natin dyan ay memory. Okay? The child has a memory. Okay? This is the cognitive faculty of retaining and recalling past experiences. So when you're asking the questions like what, when, who, where, why, those questions, they are only retrieval of information. We call that memory. Okay? So the process of memorizing. Okay? Yung sinabing memory, kung ano yung natatandaan mo, meron kang short-term memory at meron ka ding long-term memory. Okay? So ang maganda sa learning process is pag yung although hindi naman lahat kasi ay nai-store sa long-term memory, yung mga bagay-bagay lang na tingin mo ay importante sa iyo, yung naramdaman mo kung ano yung sinasabi ni teacher, doon na i-store sa long-term memory. Pero yung mga bagay na, ay, ano yan, hindi ko naman alam yan, okay? Or you have negative attitude towards that information, doon lang siya sa your short-term memory at eventually mawawala siya doon as time passes by, okay? So when we say memory, it's just recalling experiences. It's recalling and retaining past experiences. So ang tawag natin dito ay rote learning. O, i-take down nyo ulit yan. Rote learning, R-O-T-E. Okay, what is rote learning? ROTE or rote learning is what we refer to as the lowest level of learning. Bakit siya tinawag na lowest level of learning? Kasi nga, sa mga ganitong instances, sa rote learning, pinamemorize ka lang. Okay? You're just memorizing information without understanding it. Okay? For example, you know the definition of science. Science is a systematic body of knowledge. But if your teacher would ask, okay, in your own words, what is science? And you cannot answer it anymore. O, andun ka lang sa tinatawag nating rote learning because you only memorize the information. But the moment your teacher asks you about your understanding of what you have memorized, dun ka nagkakaroon ng problema, dun na tayo magkakaroon ng issue about rote learning. So, although it is the lowest level of learning, it is still fundamental. Okay, you cannot go upward. Okay, you cannot go to the higher levels of learning unless, okay, meron kang matibay na pundasyon sa tinatawag nating rote learning. Halimbawa, tinanong ka, which of the planets is the largest planet in the solar system based on their diameter? Pag tinanong kang ganyan, dapat na-memorize mo o nasa utak mo yung diameter ng mga planets. And if you compare them, that's no longer memory lang. That's comprehension. You're comparing and contrasting. That's understanding. And the answer to that, by the way, is Jupiter. Okay? So, in other words, rote learning is just simply retaining or recalling the experiences. But playing with the information is no longer rote learning. Okay? It's no longer rote learning. We'll learn about this, no? Meron tayong tinatawag na pag gumawa ka ng objectives, meron tayong tinatawag na taxonomy of the cognitive domain. At maiintindihan nyo yung different levels of cognitive learning. Okay? Yung ginagamitan ng utak. So, memory or knowledge is at the bottom. At ano kaya yung nasa itaas? What's the highest level of learning? We'll get to know that in the next sessions. And the last one is intellect. Okay? So kung memory ay yung kakayahan lang ng bata na mag-memorize at mag-recall ng information from their mind, intellect is the process is the ability of a learner to play with the information, to think critically, okay? To form a concept, to reason out, or to make judgment. So, creations of the mind na ito. Hindi na siya creation of the outside world. Kasi sa memory, kung ano yung nakikita mo, kung anong pinamemorize sa'yo, yun na yung papasok dito. Pero the moment that you're able to make judgment out from this information, that is no longer memory, but that is already intellect. Okay, that is already intellect. Halimbawa, question is, who should be the national hero of the Philippines? Should it be Rizal? Or should it be Andres Bonifacio? That's the question. Should it be Rizal or should it be Andres Bonifacio? If you can only answer that, okay, you can only answer that if you know who Rizal is, if you know who Andres Bonifacio is. You can only answer that if you know what Rizal did and what Bonifacio did. And the moment that you are deciding now who should be the national hero of the Philippines, you're using now your intellect because you're making judgment, you're forming ideas, and you're reasoning out that this person, this hero should be the national hero of the Philippines. By the way, for the social science major there, meron ba tayong national hero sa Pilipinas? Malayo tayo may marami sa inyo social science major. Meron ba tayong national hero sa Pilipinas? Sino dito ang major in social science? Alonzo, Mary? Si Jamaica. Jamaica. Nagko-connection ng audio. Mary Alonzo, what's your major?
Yes, sir.
What is your
Hello,
major?
sir.
Yes. What is your major?
Sir?
What is your major?
Hello, sir.
Yes, hello.
Okay,
Sige.
sir.
Medyo choppy si Mary Alonzo. Giselle, what is your major? Hindi yata ako naririnig ni Giselle. What about Ariane Kawan? Ariane, what is your major?
Hello, sir.
Yes, what is your major?
I'm biological science, sir.
What? Biological science?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so biology ka. You will be taking your let in biology or in science. Sino dito ang social science? Anyway, no. I just want to correct the misconception of many people. There is no one national hero. Siguro sasagutin nyo ako, the national hero is Jose Rizal. No, no. Pag titignan nyo yung ating holidays, no, hindi siya National Hero Day. It's National Heroes Day. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, marami tayong national heroes. Hindi lang si Rizal ang ating national heroes, pero kasama dyan si Andres Bonifacio, Apolinario Mabini. They are what we call our national heroes, and there's no single hero that is considered the national hero of the Philippines. But the most venerated hero in the Philippines is Jose Rizal. Kahit saan ka mapunta, lahat merong bantayog ni Jose Rizal. Pero hindi siya yung talagang ating national hero because there are national heroes in the Philippines. There are many heroes. All right. So those are the cognitive faculties of our learners. Now let's talk briefly about the appetitive faculties. We have feelings and emotions and rational will. So when we talk about feelings and emotions, okay, alam na natin to. Okay, our learners have the ability to feel emotions too. Okay, pag sinabihan mo sila ng masasakit na salita, they can feel things. Pag sinabihan mo sila ng magagandang salita, they can feel things. Halimbawa, ang effect nito, pag sila ay nasabihan ng magandang salita, like, good job, keep up the good work. Anong epekto nito sa bata? Ang epekto nito, sasaya yung bata at magkakaroon siya ng drive to continue the good work. Okay? So, maraming teachers ang tamad na tamad magbigay ng praises sa bata. Yung bang, di man lang ma-appreciate yung ginawa ng bata. Like, ano lang ba kung sasabihin mong very good, excellent, ang galing, di ba? So, yung mga ganyang bagay, hindi dapat pinagdadamot yan sa ating mga bata, sa ating mga mag-aaral. Kasi sometimes, siguro sa bahay lang nila naririnig yan. I mean sa eskwelahan lang nila naririnig, sa bahay hindi nila naririnig. O yung mga parents nila hindi rin ganun ka-affectionate sa kanila. So, siguro, in our classroom, kung tayo man sa susunod na mga taon ay magiging teacher, huwag nating ipagdamot yung mga ganitong bagay sa ating mga mag-aaral. Kasi malay natin, ito yung magpapagbabago sa kanilang buhay. Kasi more than anything else, more than what we are trying to impart on them, on their mind, yung information, yung mga cognitive information na ito, we should also touch their lives. We should also touch their feelings and their emotions. Because in that way, yun yung mas tatatak sa kanila kung ano yung naramdaman nila. Okay? So sabi nga dito, no, the lessons that we learn and remember the most are those that struck us in one way or another. Yung mga bagay-bagay na talagang tumatak sa ating puso. Yun yung mas natatandaan natin. Yun yung mas natututo tayo kasi hindi lang siya puro utak pero may puso yung pinag-aaralan. Okay? So halimbawa, pag ikaw ay gagawa ng isang lesson, make sure that it's not only targeting the mind, but it should also target the emotions and the feelings of your learners. Okay? So for example, halimbawa, nagtuturo ka ng science, nagtuturo ka ng let's say biology, any topic in biology, symbiotic relationships in the ecosystem. You're teaching them commensalism and other relationships in the ecosystem. Make sure that the examples that you are using are related to them. Okay? Halimbawa, ano ba ito? let's say, commensalism. Sea anemone and fish, sabi mo. Sea anemone or sea anemone and fish. Kasi pag commensalism, the organism is benefited but the other one is not benefited nor harmed. Diba? Tama ba ako, Miss Arian? So pag sinabing commensalism, one organism is benefited but the other one is not harmed and not also benefited. Like the sea anemone and the fish. The fish lives in the sea anemone, the fish is benefited, pero yung sea anemone hindi naman nabe-benefit o hindi rin naman naha-harm. Okay? So halimbawa, gagawin ng lesson mo, hindi naman nila alam kung anong sea anemone, hindi nila alam kung ano ang fish. So make sure that you are using examples that are meaningful to our learners, that are related to them. Okay? Because the moment that they feel, ganun pala yun, kasi nakita ko ito, kanina ganito yung nangyari sa akin, yun yung tinatawag nating lessons that have struck them. Halimbawa, gagamit ko ng example na one-sided love affair. Tatanong mo sa kanila, nakaranas na ba kayo ng pag-ibig na ikaw lang ang nagmahal? Di ba? So, ikaw ang na-benefit. Siya na-benefit, pero ikaw, in another way naman, hindi ka naman na-benefit kasi ikaw lang nagmahal, hindi ka rin naman na-harm. Mga ganung bagay. So, yung mga ganung bagay, yun yung tinatawag natin na contextualization. Okay? Yung ikinakabit natin sa tunay na buhay at kung ano yung related sa kanila, yung mga examples na binibigay natin. Okay? So, don't make examples, give examples that they cannot relate to. Kasi matatandaan lang nila yun, pero hindi nila alam yung konsepto behind it. Pero the moment that you have given them examples that they can feel it, okay, that they are related to it, well, bukod sa matatandaan nila yung konsepto, matatandaan nila talaga kung ano yung sinabi mo sa kanila. Okay? Because hindi lang utak yung na-struck, pero yung mind, yung soul, yung kanilang nararamdaman, na-touch mo. Okay? That's feelings and emotions. Although yung example ko kanina, on one-sided love affair, we can consider that as a parasitism, if I'm not mistaken. No, parasitism is a parasite. Parasite is benefited and then the host is harmed. Okay? Kasi nga, isa lang ang nagmahal, so isa lang ang nag-pour ng love, so na-harm yung isa naman na-benefit. Anyway, let's proceed to the next one. Rational will. Okay? Rational will, may choice ka naman. Okay? Kung ayaw mo na doon sa relasyon na yon, edi kumalas ka. Okay? Kung nasasaktan ka na, edi kumalas ka. So our learners have their rational will too. Okay? So meron silang feelings and emotions. So based on their feelings and emotions, they can make choices. Okay? The learner will be able to choose and, based on their experiences, okay? Pwede silang maghindi o pwede silang mag-oo sa isang bagay presented by their intellect. So bukod doon sa may kakayahan sila na mag-decide, pero yung decision na yon ay dapat nanggaling din sa utak nila. They have to think about the consequences of their decisions. We call that rational will. Hindi lang will pero rational. The will should have a certain basis. The will should have a certain, it should be a product of thinking. It should be a product of the mind at hindi siya product lamang ng puso. Pero iisipin mo, tama ba itong gagawin ko? Ano kayang consequence itong mga gagawin ko? So ang ating mga learners, meron silang rational will. And you have to put, if you ask questions to them, make sure that you are bringing out these things. Okay? Halimbawa, nag-misbehave yung bata. Huwag mo lang silang papagalitan na hindi tama yung ginagawa mo. Ask them, tama ba yung ginagawa mo? Do you think pag nalaman ng parents mo yung ginagawa mo, mas matutuwa sila? O anong dapat mong gawin? O hindi yung galit agad. Pero you devise a strategy para hindi lang hindi in a way negative yung dating sa bata, pero para mas maintindihan nila yung consequences ng ginagawa nila at saka yung sila mismo ang gagawa ng paraan para makorek yung maling nagawa nila. So ask them first, anong ginawa mo? Sa tingin mo, tama ba yan? O mali yung ginawa mo? Sa tingin mo, pag nalaman ng magulang mo, matutuwa sila. Anong dapat mong gawin? O anong plano natin? Bukas, anong gagawin mo na? O after ng bukas na yan, anong gagawin mo? O yung mga ganung bagay. So that they will feel accountable and responsible to their choices. Okay? They will feel responsible and accountable for it. Kasi choice nila eh. Okay? Pero kung ipinilit mo sa kanila, ito gawin mo, wala yan. Okay? Pero kung sila mismo ang pumili na ito ang gagawin ko, they will feel accountable for it. Halimbawa, what is the implication of this in our classes, no? When you devise a strategy, a teaching activity, do not present just one activity to the child, to your class, okay, to your students. No, you present multitude of activities to them, 3 or 4 or 2, whatever. Basta meron silang avenue to choose. Okay? Okay, ito ang gagawin ko. Ito yung mga gagawin natin. Mamili kayo ngayon kung anong gagawin nyo. O, di ba? Halimbawa kayo, pag pinapili kayo, merong psychological effect yan eh. Pag kayo ay pinapili at may pinili ka nga, accountable ka. Feeling mo, accountable ka kasi pinili mo yun. Pero pag sinabi sa'yo na, ito gawin nyo, ito lang yung ginawa nyo. Okay? Si ma'am nagsabi nito eh. Pero pag sinabi mo, ito kasi yung pinili ko eh. Ito kasi yung choice ko. Kaya kailangan kong gawin. Kasi I feel responsible of it. I feel accountable of it. So in other words, when you devise a strategy, do not only devise one single requirement. Okay? Let them choose what they want because our learners are different. Yun yung pag-uusapan natin mamaya. Our learners are different. You cannot put them in a box as if they are just one single person. Okay? But if you are facing 20 learners in a class, you are facing 20 different learners. Okay? Magkakaiba silang lahat. Okay? So those are the two faculties under appetitive faculties. Okay? So remember, we have 5 faculties under cognitive and we have another 2 under appetitive. Okay? Okay. Now, let's talk about the factors that contribute to the differences of our learners. Now, I hope that you are learning from the implications more than what is the concept or what is the definition of these faculties. Pero ang gusto ko matutunan nyo ay kung paano natin magagamit itong faculties na ito, itong mga konsepto na ito sa tunay na buhay. Okay? Kung anong implication ng mga sinasabi ko sa ating pagtuturo. Kung kayo man ay magtuturo sooner or later, o kahit na parents, okay, kung parents kayo at kayo ay may module na ginagawa, kahit na yung mga anak nyo dapat ang gumagawa niyan, mas maiintindihan nyo kung paano nga ba nagaganap itong mga bagay na to. So, ibig sabihin, pag meron hindi sila alam, di i-search sa Google, anak, ito yung tinatawag nating stamen. Para alam nila, hindi lang yung alam mo yung sagot, hindi naman niya alam. Okay? So, yung mga ganong bagay. Okay? So, aside from this, no, bukod sa ang ating mga learners ay merong cognitive, lahat sila, merong cognitive and appetitive faculties, our learners too, merong mga factors that contribute to their differences. Magkakaiba sila. Okay, magkakaiba sila in terms of ability, aptitude, interest, family and cultural background, and attitudes and values. Now, I will assign these topics, no, to you. I'll be giving 2 minutes in preparation. Then after 2 minutes, sasagutin nyo yung aking, yung definition ng mga yan. Nasa inyong module naman. So explain nyo lang, no? Shortly lang. So ability, Ruth, can you take ability? Thank you. Aptitude. Okay, aptitude is Aryan. Okay. Aptitude, Aryan. And then Gizanda, interest. And then a family and cultural background. Who wants to volunteer? Wala. I would love to hear from Katrina, family and cultural background. And then attitudes and values. I will hear from Roxanne.
Sir, nagcha-choppy ka po.
All right, I repeat, no? In 2 minutes, I'll be back. But after 2 minutes, I will hear from 5 among you about this topic. Shortly lang, just share something about it, okay? Ability is for Ruth. Aptitude for Aryan, interest for Gizanda, family and cultural background for Katrina, and attitudes and... Okay, were you able to hear me?
Sir, bigla
Sir,
ka pong
nawala po.
sir.
All right, let me repeat. In 2 minutes, I'll be hearing from Ruth on ability, aptitude, Aryan, interest, Gizanda, family and cultural background, Katrina, and attitudes and values, Roxanne. Okay? I'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay? I'm back. Okay? May I hear from Ruth on ability?
Yes, sir. So the first factor that contributes to differences among learners is the ability. So from our handout, the meaning of this is the capacity to understand and assimilate information for their own use and application. So ability is like the possession of our skills or means to do something. For example, is our talents. It is a possession which we do well.
All right. Yeah, that is good. Okay, thank you, Ruth, for your explanation. No, when we talk about ability, our learners has different capacity to assimilate information. Halimbawa, no, may mga learners tayo na pag sinabi mo agad, alam na nila agad kung ano yung ibig mong sabihin. Pero may mga learners tayo na kailangan mong ipaliwanag ng mahaba. Paliwanag mo ng ipaliwanag sa kanila para maintindihan nila. Dahil magkakaiba sila ng capacity to understand and assimilate the information. Okay? So tayo mga parents, kaya hindi lahat ng bata ay pare-parehas. Ang ating mga anak ay hindi natin katulad. Kaya kung merong pagkakataon na nababagalan kayo sa kanila sa pag-iintindi, pasensyahan lang natin. Okay? Pasensyahan lang natin. Alright? Because they are different in terms of ability. Thank you, Ruth. Number 2, aptitude. We can hear from Aryan. Aryan?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
So, aptitude, from the word itself, is innate talent or gift. So, it's a natural capacity to learn certain skills.
Yes.
So, for this, sir, it's more of within us na po yung talent. It's or an inborn potential for us.
Yeah.
For example, sir, you are good in singing. So, you excel on it without even learning from it. Because it's within you na po. Or if you are more inclined in mathematics or in science, even if the teacher or the professor gives you a little background on it, you easily assimilate it, sir.
Yes, this is good. Okay, thank you, Aryan, for that very good explanation. Yes, inborn. Okay, yun nga. Kaya pag sinabi nating innate, merong mga learners na inborn ang kakayahan nilang kumanta. Inborn yung kakayahan nila magsayaw, mag-drawing. Ibig sabihin, pag tinuro mo, alam na nila agad. Kasi doon sila magaling talaga. They were naturally born that way. Okay? Thank you, Aryan, for that. What about Gizanda? Interest.
With the interest, it's the strong appeal or attraction towards an activity or an area.
Okay.
Normally, sir, kasi we can say that this is, it's a psychological state of attention. Like if you are drawn into something, like you cannot get out of it or you cannot pass through it or you cannot just let it pass by. Like, pag interesado ka sa isang tao, like you are eager to know the name, know the number, you want to befriend them, parang mga ganun po. So the interest is a motivational process that energizes your way of learning.
All right, that is true, Gizanda, no? Also, Gizanda use a contextualize and example, no? If you are interested towards a certain person, you don't let that pass through. Paano yung mga torpe, di ba? Yung kumari, may crush siya. Hindi mo yung sinasabi. So, paano yung mga torpe na yan? But anyway, no? Yun yung tinatawag din nating interest. Now, interest means that you have strong affinity towards an object, okay? You strong affinity towards an object. So, pag na-encounter mo siya, masasabi mo, ito yung gusto ko. Okay? So, pag sinabing interest, ang bagay-bagay na gusto mong matutunan. So, sa classroom, pag nalaman mo yung interest ng mga learners mo, dun ka mag-build ng foundation. Okay? In other words, people, na mahirap itong gawin, no? Pag ikaw ay nagtuturo, halimbawa, mga bagong estudyante, yung mga yan, make sure that you are able to profile them in terms of their interest. Saan sila interesado? Kasi pag ikaw ay nag-design ng activity at dinesign mo yung activity based on their interest, hindi ka magkakamali sa ginagawa mo. Kasi madodraw mo yung attention nila kasi doon sila interesado. Halimbawa, most of your learners are interested in singing. So what you wanna do there is, okay, may activity tayo, kakantahin natin itong pinag-aralan natin. Gagawa tayo ng kanta out from the things that we have learned. So mga ganung bagay, dahil ang mga learners mo ay mahilig magkumanta at magaling kumanta, and then they will be able to, their attention will be drawn towards the lesson because that is where they are interested at. However, yun nga, kaya ka nagbibigay ng choices sa mga estudyante natin dahil magkakaiba sila ng interest. And let them do the choice. Let them decide on themselves, because if they decide on something, ibig sabihin, dun sila interesado, dun sila magaling. Okay? Thank you, Gizanda, for that information. Family cultural background, Katrina.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. Good morning, everybody.
Yes.
As it says here, family and cultural background may include exposure that the learners have as they are introduced and interact with the other people in the environment.
Okay.
For me naman, sir, kasi big factor ang family because every student is raised by different types of families, and we are exposed to different beliefs, practices, and traditions
That's
as regards to the cultural background. Example na lang, sir, sa family, may factor minsan na halimbawa yung pamilya is, linyahan nila is mga doctors or basta sa medical, ganun. May tendency din na ang bata, na-expose sa ganun, later on po ang interest niya or tatahakin niyang landas, pwede din pong maging inspiration niya ang parents niya na doctors or nurses, ganun, sir.
Yes, that is true. Thank you, Katrina, for that good example. Okay? So Katrina mentioned about family and cultural background. You know, malaking impluwensya ang naibibigay ng pamilya sa mga bata. Not only to their aspirations, kung doktor ang magulang, kung teachers ang magulang, teachers din ang gusto nila as they grow old. Because in some cases, hindi din naman ganun ang nangyayari. Pero most of the time, pag ganun, nafa-follow yung track ng parents. Pero pag sinabi din nating family and cultural background, isa rin ay napakalaking impluwensya talaga ng pamilya, especially their values. Okay? Kung ang parents ay binibigyan ng halaga ang edukasyon, most often than not, yung kanilang anak ay magbibigay rin ng value sa education. Some parents are like this naman kasi. Okay? When the students go home from the classroom, from their school, wala namang follow-up, right? Like, walang tanong kung anak, kumusta ang eskwela. Anak, may assignment ka ba? Gawin natin. Anak, kumusta ang quiz mo? Yung ibang mga parents, pinababayaan yung mga anak. That is a manifestation that they do not put the same value as other parents towards education. And if that happens, the learner will also be adopting the same values and conception about education. And in the next days, in the next years, pag siya ay nag-proceed sa college, iisipin niya na ang education ay obligasyon lamang. Hindi ito isang paraan para maitawid niya yung pamilya niya sa buhay na gusto niya. Okay? Pero yung mga ibang bata naman na magkaiba din doon, kahit na nasa sitwasyon sila na hindi privileged, okay? He was able or she is able to understand that education is the key that would give them the ticket away from poverty. Okay? So, nag-aaral ng mabuti, kaya makikita natin may mga differences na yung ibang estudyante, kahit na underprivileged sila, may mga estudyanteng wala lang, pero may mga estudyante namang talagang pursigido sa pag-aaral. And also, cultural background. Okay, yung kultura, yung belief systems and practices nila sa kanilang lipunan, sa kanilang komunidad na ginagalawan. Nakadepende din yan sa kanilang kultura. Halimbawa, yung mga agta natin. Okay? They think that some lessons are not relevant because after all, they will not use it. Okay? Halimbawa, in science. Iba ang paniniwala nila eh. In other words, pag tinuro mo sa kanila ang science, they will feel hesitant about it. They will feel resistant about it. Kasi nga, iba ang kanilang paniniwala. Iba ang kanilang kultura. Okay? So again, their interest towards learning a subject is again dependent on their culture. Halimbawa na lang, Muslim siya. Diba? May sariling kultura ang mga Muslim. Ibig sabihin, pag nagturo ka sa classroom na hindi katanggap-tanggap sa kanilang kultura, they will not feel positive about it. Okay, they will not feel interested about it. So, wag mong ipilit na pag-aralan nila dahil hindi naman yun yung kanilang kultura. In other words, people, you have to be sensitive also to the culture of our students. Although it doesn't mean na hindi mo ituro sa kanila, no? Pero you just have to feel sensitive about it. Okay, that if they don't feel safe of the lesson, of the topic at hand, then don't push it towards them. Okay? Kasi meron silang rational will nga na tinatawag. Okay? Last but not the least, attitudes and values. We'll have Roxanne for that.
For attitudes and values, attitude refers to an individual perspective and disposition. Some positive attitudes are curiosity, responsibility, creativity, and persistence. Learners with positive attitude will demonstrate the value of persistence in their studies. For values, values and attitudes are commonly, they are oftentimes have reciprocal influences with one another, as values are about how we have learned to think about how things ought to be or people ought to behave.
Okay.
And for attitudes, they are established ways of responding to people and situations that we have learned based on the beliefs, values, and assumptions that we hold. Commonly, attitudes and values are usually influenced by our families or cultural backgrounds and traditions. Kasi sir, for example, ang kinagawian ng family is pray before, for example sir, kinagawian nila, kailangan mag-pray before having a dinner, having breakfast. Then as soon as lalaki yung bata, ganun din yung yung way of thinking niya na kailangan mo nang mag-pray bago kumain. And then ganun din sir sa values niya. For example sir, ang bata, halimbawa kung may family problem siya, nakagawian na nakikita niya yung mother, yung both parents niya na nag-aaway, most probably ang mangyayari sa estudyante pagdating sa eskwelahan, pagdating sa classroom, wala siya sa tamang pag-iisip. Wala siyang, kumbaga sir, magulo ang isip niya, hindi siya nakaka-cope up dun sa mga lessons na dapat niyang matutunan. Yes,
okay. Thank you, Roxanne, for that explanation. Okay, yeah, that is true also. Okay, yung attitudes and values natin related din siya sa ating family and cultural background, and even with the other factors, your ability, aptitude, and interest. So when we talk about attitudes, it's the feeling of positivity and negativity about an object. If you feel positive about it, if you have a negative attitude about it, that's what we mean by attitude. Value is putting importance towards a certain object. So if you feel that this lesson is important to you, then you will be learning it. Okay, you will have the tendency to learn it because you feel that it is important to you. If you feel that you have a positive attitude towards it, then that will also affect your learning. Halimbawa, kayo, do you have a positive or a negative attitude towards learning the teaching profession? If you have a negative attitude towards it because you had prior to this bad experiences in the past, with your teachers, you will not feel positive about the teaching profession. That's why you will feel hesitant about learning it. But in a way, if you think that this is an important profession, you put value about this profession, and you think that this is important in the society, you will have a positive attitude towards it, and you will learn more about the teaching profession. Okay? So that's attitude and value. So our learners are different in terms of these factors: ability, aptitude, interest, family, cultural background, and attitudes and values. And specifically, there is one educator who categorize learners in terms of their intelligence. At ang tawag natin doon ay yung multiple intelligence theory ni Howard Gardner. Your assignment is, when did Howard Gardner formulate this intelligence theory? Lalabas yan sa inyong quiz mamayang hapon. Okay? So, pag sinabi nating multiple intelligence in theory, sinasabi ni Howard Gardner na ang katalinuhan ay hindi lamang nasusukat sa kung ano ang alam ng bata, kung ano ang kayang gawin ng utak ng bata. Kasi nga, never mo naman narinig ang mga teachers mo na, o kaya sino man na magsasabi, uy, ang talino mo naman kasi ang galing mo sa sports. Diba? Walang magsasabi niyan. Uy, ang talino mo naman kasi ang galing mong sumayaw. Uy, ang talino mo naman kasi ang galing mong kumanta. Diba? Walang magsasabi niyan. Uy, ang talino mo naman kasi ang galing mong So nobody would tell that because our conception of what intelligence is, kung ano ang katalinuhan, ay kung anong kayang gawin ng utak. Kung kaya mo mag-memorize ng napakaraming bagay, kung kaya mong mag-reason out, kung kaya mong makipagdebate, kung kaya mong sagutin ang mga tanong ng mga teachers mo, doon natin masasabi na, ang talino niya. Pero yung mga ibang talent, yung ibang uri ng intelligence na sinabi nga ni Howard Gardner, hindi natin maituturing na katalinuhan. Pero in this case, no, in the 21st century education, as teachers, we must be able to identify and to acknowledge and to recognize the different types of intelligence because our learners are entirely different. Not all of them we expect that they're good in speaking. Not all of them we expect that they're good in memorizing because not all of them are the same. Okay, they have different talents as much as they have different types of intelligences. So Howard Gardner identified 8 types of intelligence: visual, spatial, verbal, linguistic, logical, mathematical, bodily, kinesthetic, musical, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and naturalist intelligence. And let's discuss this. Visual spatial is if the learner has a good grasp of the environment. Okay, he was able to create and manipulate mental images and the orientation of the body in space. In other words, kung ikaw ay isang visual spatial learner, okay, malamang sa malamang paglaki mo, ikaw yung architect, ikaw yung magaling mag-drawing, ikaw yung magaling sa space, okay, like engineers, yung mga ganyang tipo ng careers, okay, photographer. So you are interested on manipulating the visual environment and the space in that environment. Okay, that is what we mean by visual spatial learners. Okay, well, itong mga intelligence na ito na sasabihin ko mamaya, hindi natin masasabi na ikaw visual spatial ka, ikaw verbal linguistic ka. Sometimes, ang isang tao ay mayroong higit sa isang uri ng intelligence. Okay? At ang isang profesyon ay nangangailangan ng higit sa isang uri ng intelligence. Halimbawa, meron tayong mga doctors. Ang mga doctors, aside from they should be logical, mathematical, they should also be visual spatial learners. Kasi kailangan nilang ma-imagine kung ano yung nangyayari sa katawan ng tao. 'Di ba? Alam nilang i-manipulate yung environment. Kasi halimbawa, pag inoperahan ko itong right, ano ba to sa heart? Yung, ewan ko ang tawag doon na, okay? I am a physics major, I'm not a biology major, but let me try my best. For example, ito yung heart. Tapos ito yung valve, may valve ba yung heart? Artery, for example. O pag kinat ko itong artery na to, saan mapupunta yung dugo? Okay? Kaya nga, pag nag-surgery ka, alam mo kung paano yung proseso ng katawan ng tao, yung daloy ng dugo para alam mo kung anong artery ang puputulin mo, etc., etc. So, yung mga tipo ng unang pag-iisip na yon ay visual spatial yon. In other words, what I'm trying to point out here is that a person or an individual or a career cannot be exclusive of just one intelligence, but it may require several types of intelligence. Now, verbal linguistic naman involves reading, writing, speaking, and conversing in one's own or foreign language. So if you took AB English as a subject or a course, and you were interested in studying communication arts, yun, verbal linguistic intelligence ka. So it involves using words effectively. So these learners highly develop auditory skills and often think in words. So kahit hindi nila nakikita yung picture, naiintindihan nila kasi dun nga yung intelligence nila. Okay, verbal linguistic. They love to read novels, they love to read poems, they also write novels, they also write poems. So mga ganyang bagay, verbal linguistic yan. Okay, so if they like to communicate with other people. Logical, mathematical naman, from the words itself, they think conceptually, abstractly, and are able to see and explore patterns and relationships. So these, for example, kumuha ka ng engineering, ayan, logical, mathematical. BS Mathematics, if you are a science major too, you are a logical, mathematical thinker. Halimbawa, yung mga biology majors natin, kahit walang masyadong math sa biology, you can still be considered as logical, mathematical. Kasi nga, hindi lang mathematical yung nandyan. Meron ding logic. Okay? So, yun nga, they like to experiment. When you major in biology, you do a lot of experiments. Okay? You do titration techniques, you do culture of bacteria, antimicrobial analysis, bioassessment or bioassays. So yung mga ganyang bagay kay ginagamitan ng logical mathematical intelligence. And then we have bodily kinesthetic intelligence. When we talk about bodily kinesthetic, it talks about how you are able to use your body or how aware you are with your body. Okay, so you have keen sense of body awareness. Okay, kung meron sa atin yung talagang sinasabi na dalawa ang kaliwang paa. Okay, yung hindi coordinated yung body. Kung nagsasayaw siya, hindi niya alam kung saan napapunta yung paa niya, saan napapunta yung kamay niya. Pero may mga individuals naman na kahit isang tingin lang dun sa steps, alam niya na kung paano. Ang ibig sabihin nun, meron siyang tinatawag na bodily kinesthetic intelligence. So meron siyang physical coordination. Pag pinatakbo mo siya, alam niya yung posisyon ng paa niya, kung paano dapat. Alam niya kung paano siya tumakbo, paano niya gamitin yung katawan niya. Okay, that's bodily kinesthetic intelligence. Our athletes, our sports enthusiasts, coaches are very good examples of people who are bodily kinesthetically intelligent. And then we have musical intelligence. Okay, musical intelligence does not only mean you are good at singing. Okay, but musical intelligence also means that you can hear notes. Okay, you can compose music. You can produce sound. Those are musically intelligent people. Okay? So marami sa atin ang mahilig kumanta, especially tulad ko, no? Mahilig akong kumanta, mahilig akong I always want to hear music whenever I'm studying or doing something. I would always love to hear music. But pag ako pinakanta mo, takpan mo na yung tenga mo. Okay? Because I'm not really good in singing, but I really am fascinated in terms of songs in the past and until the present. Okay? So musical intelligence does not mean you know that you love singing, but it specifically mean like you know this is the right note, okay, and you can produce music and you can hear others flats and sharps. Musical intelligence. And then interpersonal, from the word interpersonal, you know how to communicate with other people. Okay, from the word itself, when you say interpersonal, this requires the learner to be sociable to people. Okay, may mga learners talaga na hindi talaga sociable. They feel like they are isolated from their environment. So kung ganun kang klase ng learner, ikaw naman yung tinatawag na intrapersonal. Interpersonal is when you're able to socialize with other people. You have that good establishment of rapport to other people, na-establish mo yung relationship nyo at hindi ka nahihiyang makipag-usap sa tao. Interpersonal. Pero pag intrapersonal, ito yung gusto nila na hindi ibig sabihin nito na na introvert ka, yung intrapersonal pero ang sinasabi ng intrapersonal intelligence ay mas prefer nila na mag-isa sila. Kasi at that point, pag sila ay mag-isa, mas nakakapag-isip sila tungkol sa kanilang buhay, nas naiintindihan nila yung interest nila, yung goal nila, yung mga ganong tao. So, kung ikaw yung tao na hindi mo alam kung saan ka papunta, hindi mo naiintindihan yung sarili mo, wala kang intrapersonal intelligence. Okay? Yun yung mga ganong bagay. Okay? So, kung mahilig kang mag-diary, may mga nagda-diary dito, mahilig kang mag-reflect pagkatapos ng klase mo, pagkatapos ng trabaho mo, o anong nangyari ngayon. Naging mabuti ka bang tao? May natulungan ka bang tao? O ano na? Kumusta? Saan ka napapunta? O ano nang gagawin mo? O ano bang ginagawa mo ngayon? So if you're asking those questions to yourselves, that means that you are intrapersonally intelligent because you understand yourself. Okay? You understand yourself. At mahalaga ito, mahalaga ito. Katulad ngayon, maraming kaso ng mental health issues sa bansa, no? Dumadami daw. At isa sa mga paraan para mas maiwasan natin yung mga ganong klase ng issue ay yung maintindihan natin yung sarili natin. Pero yun nga ang problema ng mga taong may mental health issues, no? Hindi nila naiintindihan kung anong nagaganap sa sarili nila. Okay? And the last one is naturalist. So a good example of a person who is naturally intelligent is no other than the late Gina Lopez. If you know Gina Lopez is an advocate of environmental conservation. Okay? So a naturalist is someone who is good in understanding the natural world. Okay? Plants, animals, their characteristics. So If you are majoring in biology, perhaps you are a naturalist also because you are studying botany and zoology and the human body as well, anatomy and physiology. That's part of the nature. So man and nature is not separate. Man belongs to nature. Okay, so that's part of it. Okay, if you are majoring in forestry or environmental systems engineering, yung mga ganyang kurso, you are a naturalist. Your intelligence is naturalist. Now, in your module, aside from these 8 intelligences, according to Howard Gardner, meron pang isa dyan, which is existential. Okay, existential intelligence, and the definition is there. Okay, it's a type of intelligence that is beyond the natural world. Okay, it's philosophical. Okay, why do I exist? If you ask yourself questions like that, why do I exist? If you are an stoic person, pag sinabi nating stoic, yung gusto mong mapag-isa at lagi ka, at nafe-feel mo na ano bang tawag dito? Mas gusto mo na away ka from material things, okay? Away ka from the worldly things, at gusto mo lang na ito muna, dito muna ako, maglakbay muna ako sa ganito kasi ito ang purpose ko sa buhay, o meron kang tinatawag na existential intelligence. Hindi sila baliw ha, pero yun nga, tinatanong nila yung sarili nila, what's their purpose in life, okay, why do they exist, and other things like that related to that matter. Okay, so those are the multiple intelligence theory, the different types of intelligence according to Howard Gardner. According to him, there are 8, and these are the 8 intelligence. So kayo, saan kayo dito sa 8 na ito? Pwede ba kayo sa visual spatial, o pwede kayo sa higit sa isa? Okay, I assume na higit sa isa kayo dyan, kasi I think in a career, hindi pwedeng isa lang ang meron ka. Halimbawa, sa lahat ng careers naman siguro, kailangan meron kang verbal linguistic intelligence. Ayun, mga sinasabi natin ganyan. Alright, now aside from Howard Gardner's multiple intelligence theory, nasa module nyo din yung different learning styles na present ni Dr. Rita Dunn at ng kanyang asawa. Yung tawag natin doon ay Dunn and Dunn learning style models. Dunn and Dunn specified 5 important domains, okay, of learning styles. Magkaiba ito sa learning sa intelligence ni Howard Gardner kasi types of intelligence yun. Pero ito naman, kung paano mag-aral yung bata. Paano yung paraan niya ng pag-aaral. Magkakaiba ang bata in terms of the way they learn. Okay? They prefer to learn. Okay? So they presented 5 domains in the stimuli, and those are environmental, emotional, sociological, physiological, and psychological. Now, when we talk about environmental elements, well, these are referring to the thing. Okay. Hello. Can you hear me? Nandito na ako.
Yes, sir. Opo.
Yes, sorry for that.
Yes, sir.
Medyo unstable
Opo.
medyo unstable yung internet dahil umuulan. Anyway, let's now proceed to environmental. So everything that surrounds the learner. So may mga learners tayo na mas gusto na tahimik. May mga learners din na gusto na merong nakakausap. O yung mga learners na gustong may background music pag sila ay nag-aaral. So may mga learners tayong ganyan. So magkakaiba sila. Okay? Pag ikaw ay isang magulang, malalaman mo yan. Kung meron kang 2 o 3 anak, makikita mo yung pagkakaiba ng mga anak mo in terms of how they learn. You have children who wants to study in a quiet place, but sometimes also there are children who wants to study with background music, na merong headphones na kanilang ginagamit so that they can hear music while they are learning. Okay, that's environmental. And then we have emotional, Emotional means yung persistence sila sa pag-aaral. Okay? Meron yung madaling sumuko na bata. Meron naman yung, okay, pahinga muna ako. Mamaya, gagawin ko ulit yan. Okay? Emotional. Okay? Meron yung mga bata na gusto nila tapusin ang isang bagay agad. Pero yung iba naman gusto, unti-unti lang. Okay? Ito muna. Okay, balikan kita mamaya. Ito naman mamaya. O, mga ganun bagay. We call that emotional domain. And then sociological naman, ito yung mga bata na meron yung mga batang gustong mapag-isa pag nag-aaral. Okay? Meron ba kayong mga anak na ganyan? Gusto niya siya lang. Okay? Pero may mga bata naman na gusto niya meron siyang kasama. Okay, mga group activities na mga ganyan. So sa isang classroom, makikita mo yung pagkakaiba ng mga bata. Yung iba gusto may group activity, yung iba gusto sila lang. Okay, sociological ang tawag natin diyan. Yung iba naman hindi nakakapag-aral pag wala ang teacher kasi feeling niya pag wala ang teacher, ay pwede ko lang gawin kung anong gusto ko kasi wala naman si teacher eh. Okay, pero pag andyan yung teacher, dun siya mag-aaral. Then we have physiological. Physiological from the word physiology. Physiology, yung ano ng tao. Andyan yan sa inyong module, yung ibang learners natin ay visual learners. Mas gusto nilang nakikita, okay? Nakikita yung mga bagay-bagay. Pag nag-aaral siya, pag siya ay nasa classroom, gusto niya nakikita niya yung teacher niya. O gusto niya ay may nakikita siya habang siya ay nag-aaral. Okay? Yung ano naman, yung tactile, yung auditory naman, yung napakikinggan niya. Pero yung tactile or kinesthetic, yung ginagawa niya mismo. Okay, nagagamit niya yung katawan niya sa pag-aaral. Ang tawag natin dyan ay physiological. So, meron tayong visual learners. Kung mas natatandaan mo ang mukha ng kausap mo kaysa sa pangalan niya, visual learner ka. Kung mas natatandaan mo yung pangalan kaysa sa mukha nung kinakausap mo, auditory learner ang tawag sa'yo. Pagka mas natatandaan mo naman yung itsura niya, o yun nga, visual learner ka. Okay? At syempre wala naman tactile at kinesthetic doon. Okay? And then we have psychological. Psychological means you are a creative thinker or a critical thinker. Makikita natin dito. Yan, sa brain natin, no? Pag ikaw ay right brainer, ang dominant sa'yo ay yung creative thinking mo. Pero pag left brain ka, ang dominant sa'yo ay yung critical thinking.
Sir, choppy ka po.
Hello? Okay na? Okay na ba?
Sorry, choppy ka na po, sir.
Hey, copy na. Wait lang. I'll just change my internet connection. Okay. Okay na? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay na tayo. Okay, so sinasabi ko dun sa psychological, meron tayong right brainers and left brainer students. So, if you are right brainer, creative thinking, pag left brain ka, critical thinking naman yan. May theory na pag ikaw ay left-handed daw, ang dominant sa'yo ay right brain. Pagka ikaw naman ay right-handed, ang dominant sa'yo ay left brain. Kaya in other studies, may nagpapakita doon na pag ikaw ay pag left-handed ka, ang tendency is maging artist ka, photographer ka, because you are a creative thinker. Pero yung mga right-handed, sila naman yung mga critical thinkers naman sila. So if you major in science, mga debate, communication arts, but these are just theories. These are just it may not be true to all because they are just theories anyway. All right, so yan. So creative thinkers versus critical thinkers. Ang tawag natin dyan ay psychological. So makikita mo yan, no? Pag nag-aaral ang bata, no? Pag ang daming kulay na nakikita nyo doon sa kanilang notebook, magamit sila ng mga highlighters, okay? Mga creative thinkers yung mga yan. At the same time, they are also visual learners kasi yung mata nila ang gumagana. Pagka sila ay magre-recall ng information, parang ganito yan. Dito ko sinulat yan, dito sa part ng notebook na ito. Hinighlightan ko yan color yellow, mga ganong bagay. Kasi nga, visual learners sila. Okay? Okay, so aside from done and done learning style models na binanggit natin kanina, ito yung Harvey Silver Learning Styles. Wala ito sa inyong module, pero importante rin na malaman nyo ito. Isa-send ko itong PowerPoint ko para mabasa nyo. It's already 9:30, no?